Okay, now that we got all of the technical difficulties taken care of, how's everybody doing today? We are going to hit on a couple of notes here that now that springtime has gotten underway and is in full force, Mother Nature finally decided to stop giving us fake springs, and now we're full force into the boating fishing season. Time that our watercrafts are going to be taken out, and everybody's excited about hitting the weekends. We got warm temperatures. We've got, we're all going to start using our watercraft. A few things that I wanted to hit on and present to people was the items that simply get overlooked before you take off to start your excursion. Simple stuff like double checking your straps on your trailer. Don't assume that just because the last time you towed it towed fine. We want to make sure that everything is tight. Double check your lights, double check your hitch pin. It's always good practice to lock the hitch, whether it's with a hitch pin or a padlock. People in today's day and age, people can be very mischievous, let's say that, to the point where I've actually run into situations in the past where people have, say they pulled into a gas station to fill their boat and their truck, and they have to walk inside to pay the prepay. While they walk inside and nobody is paying much attention to the boat or whatever at the pump, people have walked past before and clipped up the lock on the hitch, or have unsnapped the rear transom strap to just to be assholes. Stuff like that is not only makes for potential catastrophic failure, it also can ruin your day. So just double check everything, double and triple check everything. Make sure that you've got all your life vests. Make sure that your batteries are full and good. Always good practice to have a spare key with your boat. It would be terrible to get to your destination and hop up in the boat and realize that you didn't have your key with you. You normally leave it in the glove box, or it's on your key ring, and for some reason it didn't get put back. So it's always good practice to carry a spare key. And then, we're double checking and triple checking stuff. There's a saying that a cornerstone in what I've lived my life for towards and after is the 7 P's of life. Those 7 P's are: prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So that if we live our life by prior proper planning, that means that the majority of our excursions or whatever we put our lives into or our attention into is going to be, it's going to be less of a frontline episode for the shit show, right? We don't want to have that constantly happening. So the way my mind works in life, it's always worked to the point of, I look at a situation and I try to assess all of the possibilities as I'm thinking through a project. Or say we're getting ready to take off to go on a trip. And I'm thinking my mental checklist, I've checked my straps, I've lubed my wheel bearings, I've confirmed my trolling motors are locked down, I've made sure that my trim pumps and everything are up and my motors are secure, ready for transportation. I hook up to the boat and I pull forward. I check all of my lights. I make sure that my hitch is locked. Walk around, and not only do I visually look at my tire condition, I shake my wheels. I'm making sure that my wheel bearings are good. I'll walk around and I'll kick my tires as I'm checking my lights. The reason behind that is I drove truck for years, over the road and local semi truck, and that is something you constantly are checking your load. 99% of driving is driving in your rear view mirror. Just because the thing is hooked up and is tight when you left your house, every 10, 15 seconds, you need to be looking in your rear view, looking in your side view. And what you're looking at is your trailer, your boat. You're paying attention. Is something that you thought was strapped down when you left your house, like your cooler lid, is that blowing up as soon as you hit the freeway and you're driving at freeway speeds now? So things change as you're driving. So while doing that, you want to avoid catastrophic failure, right? So ultimately our goals on our weekend excursions or long family trips is to go and have fun and make memories. And the memories that we make don't want to be, oh my God, do you remember the time that the boat fell off of the trailer? Or do you remember the time that we lost a wheel bearing? Which happens even though you check stuff, but it happens a whole lot less if you're constantly and continuously on your list of the 7 Ps. So other things to check and not ever to assume would be, for instance, I had a customer had come in here last week, as a matter of fact. He had purchased his own bow mount trolling motor. It's a brand new Minn Kota Altera, which gives you wireless capabilities as well as a spot lock and GPS capabilities, everything. Yeah, really, really awesome bow mount trolling motor. And we had installed a custom battery tray up in the bow and onboard 3-bank charger for the 36-volt battery system that we installed in the bow. He had picked his boat up last week and taken it up out to a lake for the weekend and absolutely loves the way that it works. So it is much easier to steer and operate a boat when you are pulling from the bow of the boat, as opposed to trying to steer the boat from the back. With a kicker, you're having to push that entire boat around and against the wind. Well, you can imagine how, if you visualize how difficult or how much thrust it would take to move, say, a 10-foot wall direct in front of you. Envision your windshield and the bow sticking out of the water. You take that 10-foot wall and you try to push it around when the wind is blowing at your face from the back. You're pushing and you're fighting the wind, right? Well, if I'm pulling from the front, I can actually direct my bow and cut into the wind. So that's the idea behind a bow mount trolling motor. And I had sold him on the idea a while back. He goes out and purchases the motor. We did the install last week, takes it up to the lake and absolutely loves it. He brought it back down here for us to complete the custom install of the 3-bank trolling motor, or 3-bank charger, and to complete a hinge and latch system for the bow step that we had put in there. The last night, so he had picked the boat up from us on Monday as it was completed. Last night, I get a text message late night, and it is just a picture of his bow mount that on his way to his weekend trip that he was planning, the bow mount trolling motor had basically in his text message, the bow mount trolling motor had somehow come unlatched and deployed itself. And he didn't realize it for about 5 miles as he was driving 70 miles an hour, and it was dragging the motor head on the ground at the bow on the road as he was driving on the highway. My response to him was, what in the world happened there? Those motors, they don't just come unlatched. Like, they don't come just, even if you hit a bump, you actually have to deploy, you have to press and push in order to get that motor to come off. Those do not just, oops, it didn't latch this time. Unfortunately, he had said that he was had the motor deployed, and he was messing around with settings, attempting to get the motor to autopilot, and he was trying to test stuff out to be ready for his weekend trip. And when he had stowed the motor, he had assumed that when he stowed the motor, that by it staying up in its up position, that it had actually gotten into the stow position. Now, ultimately, that motor had made it from his location day before yesterday to where he noticed the motor in the deployed position, had made it better than 50 miles down the road before he noticed it. And thankfully he noticed it, or he would have shown up at the lake and only had the shaft left, because what actually was what he found when he pulled over after noticing it 3 miles later. So he had stopped, gotten out, walked around, whatever, didn't notice anything, takes off, and to do his 7 Ps, right? He just walked around, proper planning, attempting to prevent the catastrophic, his poor performance, right? Part of the 7 Ps. Well, driving down the road 3 miles later, he looks up in his rear view and sees that his bow mount was deployed. And when he pulled over, the skeg and portion of the electric motor was ground off, completely flat, and the prop was damaged. So he said he figured what happened was he was messing with it the day before and had thought that it had stowed, and he must not have latched it the whole way, and didn't confirm that it was latched. Even though it was in the stow position, it just was not actually over. There's a little detent up there where the motor and the head unit will rest in, and it was not all the way into that position, even though when he had tilted the motor up to put it away, it had stayed in that up position. That is really just an unfortunate situation. Double checking and once again triple checking to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. You know, just because we put our eyes on it is not double and triple checking. Physically take your hands down there and you make sure your lock is locked. Make sure that your hitch pin is locked. Make sure that your straps are hooked and tight. Physically touching them and making sure that they are tight. And periodically through your trip, do that. This will help you. It will assist in the ability to stay, to make a memorable weekend of family fun, as opposed to a catastrophic failure. That could have been, I mean, ultimately, the motor is still working, but in his situation, he had just purchased the $4,500 bow mount and batteries and had used it one time, quite literally brand new. So that's a sad one. I guarantee for the future, he's never, ever going to have a bow mount that's not latched. Typically, that's what happens, right? The double and triple checking. So, in my experience, growing up as a kid, I'd always grown up around boats and been on the water, been around vehicles, been working on heavy equipment and semi trucks since I was 11 years old. My wife and I, first trip out, grandfather had given me my first boat. It was his first boat, 1969 Caravel. Pretty cool little runabout. My grandpa bought it brand new. We take off to a local lake, and although I've been around the boats and grown up around them, I've made a saying in my life of the for boaters, it's not a matter of if you have ever forgotten your garboard plug or drain plug in the back of your boat. It's not a matter of if, it's when. When you've forgotten it, it'll happen one time and you'll never, ever forget to do it again. I say that because I forgot it one time. And it was that trip with my wife to a very, very busy lake. And the parking lot was a quarter mile away up a very steep hill. I remembered to double check that when I parked the trailer. My wife was holding the boat at the dock. I ran down the hill to find a foot of water in my boat and the tackle box floating, and a group of like 5 other boaters that were on their boats just standing there watching, waiting for the boat to sink. By the time I got down there and ran into the water and stuffed the plug in the back. So thankfully we didn't sink the boat, and believe it or not, the bilge pumps worked, batteries are good. We fired her up and we still went out and played. And it made for a potential catastrophe to, thank goodness we caught it right before it sank to the bottom and everything else. Same difference with double and triple checking anything. So thank goodness he caught it before it completely wiped his lower unit or the gear electric motor out. This could happen. You can apply this with everything. When you're loading your boat at the dock, come up to the ramp, you got your trailer in the water, boop, you load it, drive it on there. Your friend or wife, whoever is pulling the boat out, you shut it off, you give them the thumbs up, but you haven't hit your tilt up button to tilt the drive up. Now, countless times that I've seen guys, literally the driver of the vehicle is not paying attention to what's happening with the vessel and the trailer coming out of the ramp, and forgetting to tilt your lower unit up and dragging your skeg up the ramp is, something that happens quite regularly. You can sit down there at the ramp and probably see people do it at least once a weekend. You'll see somebody drag their motor out of the lake on the trailer up the ramp. One of the biggest mistakes people do when that happens is they'll scream and yell to the vehicle driver. That driver will stop, put the vehicle in reverse, and try to back down the ramp. That is no good. So if this ever happens to you and you're dragging your lower out of the ramp as the vehicle is pulling you up the ramp, hit your tilt up button. It will naturally, it'll come out and will allow you to tilt up while the vehicle is towing you up the ramp. That skeg on the bottom of your lower unit back there is meant for multiple things. One of those things is to assist in keeping debris out of your prop, and to protect your lower unit to a point. Just because it's got some scuff marks on the bottom of it does not mean that you ruined your lower, and does not mean that it's the end all be all. But you need to double check everything. So good points to live by. I try to do that in my personal life as well as here at business. And it's something good practice for people to just be reminded to double and triple check. We can do that with everything in life. So when we're camping, when we're leaving on a family trip, or heck, when I get up in the morning to go to work, I have to double and triple check that I got my wallet and my keys, right? So anyhow, that said, I hope the info today was helpful. Just brings a reminder to people to think safety. Don't get in a hurry out there on the roads when you've got your vessels in tow. There's, everybody's in a hurry, so it's better to make it there than it is to potentially run in, have a catastrophic failure because we had to drive 75 instead of driving 60, or 65, right? So just take your time and be safe. Everybody out there, have a great uneventful boating season. Looking forward to it. Want to remind everybody to share and like our videos, check out our sponsors. Special thanks to everybody there down in the notes section. And once again, if you have anybody have any questions, then please feel free to contact me, boatdoc at askboatdoc.com, and that will that'll get over to me. I've got links on all the comment sections. So Whiskey Woman 12, you're very welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. And everybody else, have a safe boating season. Appreciate you guys.